For the record, the Oathkeepers are kicking off a new program I want you to be a participant in. If you're not an Oathkeeper, you need to be. Even if you're not military, law enforcement, or civil service, you can still join it as an associate member. You can, I've forgotten what the fees are. I think it's $30 a year or something. I mean, it's relatively inexpensive to join the Oathkeepers. And they are probably one of the best organizations out there. It's $40 a year. And so you get, you're supporting a program that is absolutely worthwhile. I know Stuart Rhodes. I've met him a number of times. He's a friend of mine. I know a number of their leadership, and I got to tell you, this is a great organization. Not to mention that they are the people who are ensuring that all of the people that are in the role of government are actually honoring their oath, right? So Oathkeepers is going operational. They're forming special, quote, civilization preservation teams. They're instructing 30,000 members nationwide to form up into special teams and sub-teams, which will be at the city, town, and county level. Now, this is modeled after the Special Forces A-Team, which is kind of it's a potential operational unit for community security and to support the local citizenry during a crisis, and government for that matter. But as mission number one, it serves as a training and leadership cadre to assist in organizing neighborhood watches, organizing veterans halls like the VFW and all of the different civic and community organizations out there, to provide community civil defense, forming county sheriff posses, strengthening existing CERT, volunteer fire and rescue and search organizations and groups, reserve deputy systems, and to assist in forming and training town and county militias, which are established by an official act of the town and county elected representatives. And also, if you have a statewide militia, many states have a literal militia that is not what you would construe to be a normal, it's not the National Guard. It's an actual militia, right? And lots of states have them. I'm in the state of Missouri where we have one, and it's a bona fide organization. It's a state-sponsored organization. So here's the deal. They're basing this on the Special Forces model, which has a 12-man A-team of specially trained soldiers who are inserted into a community to train and lead that community in resistance to oppressive regimes. So what happens is, let's say that they're utilizing the A-team, the Special Forces A-team, to go down into a foreign nation and help people who are freedom fighters or insurgents in a communist country or a dictatorship. They send a 12-man team in there, and these guys go into the community and they train leadership individuals within the community. They train fighters within the community, and they basically help these independent counties and towns and cities and villages to resist oppressive regimes. Now, they want to take that model and turn it around a little bit here and do it in a peaceful manner, of course, but the idea is that the same training is applicable even for natural disasters, civic emergencies, and what we all know to be coming, which is the dictatorship and the totalitarian, authoritarian state of the United States of America. So their primary mission is to teach and organize and lead rather than directly fight. So these 12-man teams go in and they educate and they organize and they team lead and they help them, do what's necessary, but they don't actually jump into the fighting. I mean, they can in the event that it comes down to it, but they're far more valuable as a force multiplier by sitting there and training the individuals who live there to have a part in their own future, in their own destiny. So the Oathkeepers is kicking off this program to do the same. And here's what an SF team essentially incorporates. They are providing security, disaster relief, infrastructure preservation, emergency communications, strategic food reserve, and medical care. And in the team, there's 2 communications experts, there's 2 medics, there are 2 combat engineers. Now, these are the guys who, help you build bridges, build walls, dig wells, install water treatment systems, irrigation systems, reconnect electricity, reinstitute and restore functions and infrastructure that's necessary for basic, life and health too. Because remember, if you don't have access to fresh and clean water in the event of a national emergency or even a localized one, if you don't have access to the ability to keep refrigeration running and things like that, and clean, hygienic water, what happens is people don't start dying of starvation for 30 days, but they start dying almost immediately of disease and diphtheria and dysentery and all these other issues. Cholera spreads like wildfire in places like that. Look at what happened down in Haiti when they had that giant hurricane they've never recovered from. The cholera epidemic that opened up there killed literally hundreds and hundreds of times the number of people that died in the hurricane because they didn't have any fresh water. And they had a cholera epidemic that wiped out the population. I mean, it was stunning. So anyway, the combat engineers do things like help get the water restored, help get electricity and power restored, make sure that a hospital has functioning, access to the necessary infrastructure that it needs to be able to function. 2 weapons experts, an operations NCO, and an NCO is a non-commissioned officer. That's a sergeant kind of guy. An assistant operations NCO who also does intelligence, and a commanding officer and an assistant commanding officer. Each SF soldier, a Special Forces soldier, is first trained to be light infantry. So they're all warriors and they're all fighters. None of these guys are, exclusively just an engineer or some kind of an electronics geek. These guys are warriors and fighting men, but the idea is they also have this secondary skill, whether that's drilling a well or hooking up power or whatever the case may be, right? So in the real world, these Special Forces soldiers all go to the Army's basic training and advanced infantry or AIT training, and they go to airborne school and so forth, right? They're trained in land navigation, including nighttime land navigation, wilderness survival, and survival courses and exercises, patrolling, including recon, ambushes, raids, how to react to an ambush, movement to movement for contact, how to do watch and overwatch, and all these military tactics, right? Timed ruck marches, obstacle courses, rappelling out of choppers, hand-to-hand combat, all that stuff. That's what they learn in the military. They then send these Special Forces teams into, someplace in, Ecuador, let's say, or wherever they're going to train and take this training and then apply it to the local community so that these people have, and they may not need all of those skills, but they'll need some. So the Oathkeepers is using this model and adapting it to our mission, right? Our mission here domestically in the United States, which is called the Civilian Preservation Teams. We've already gotten a lot of critical input from some Special Forces members who have really kind of helped modify the model to get away from the war aspect of it and more into the civilian preservation and civil society situation along the lines of, those areas where we were talking about earlier, where we're talking about, turning water back on and power and things like that. So there's a preliminary draft of what they intend to do, and you can find it by going to oathkeepers.org. It's also listed on our website. And it's subject to input from members so that, it can be adjusted based on the real-world scenario for either that given geographic area. I mean, as an example, the skill sets that would be needed in, let's say, Kansas City are going to be different than the skill sets that would be needed in a county in Iowa that has a population of 50,000, right? Or a small city that has 10 or 12 or 25,000 people. The skill sets are going to be totally different. Why? Well, because in a city, you're going to have a whole different infrastructure system, right? And you're going to have more hospitals that have to be dealt with and more power and things like that. You're also talking about urban versus rural tactics. So everything is different. So essentially what this is, there's going to have 2 communications experts. Now, these guys will work with community leaders to teach and educate people about how to use two-way radio communications in the event of a failure. Ham radio, right? And if you haven't taken that John Price ham radio course, I've talked about it before. You're a little late now. You're going to have to wait until he starts his next course. It's about 10 or 12 weeks, but he helps you get prepared and licensed to get a ham radio license. Even if you don't want to get the license, at least go so you understand what ham radio is and you know how it can be used. I mean, in every national crisis we've had, whether it was Katrina or Sandy or Joplin tornado or any other type of thing like that, ham radio, ladies and gentlemen, is the only method that works because the cell towers are knocked down, the power lines are ripped out, the phone lines are torn down, and all communication ceases except for two-way radio. Ham radio operators are imported into those locations to help and assist people. So they're going to have two communications experts. These are the operational field teams that'll be developed in your community. So essentially, you'll find community experts within your area that will help. Two medical experts with a special focus on grid-down emergency medical and wilderness medicine training. Because if the hospital doesn't have access to, clean and sterile products because they don't have any electricity and can't run an autoclave, then what are you going to do? How do you deal with that? And what happens when you don't have a hospital around and you're a small town and you really don't have a hospital there? Two engineers to assist with fuel and how to get fuel out of, underground tanks and things like that. Shelter, emergency power, clean water, how to dispose of sewage, build bridges or replace a bridge that's down. Clear roads, in floods, bridges get knocked down all the time. How to clear roads of debris and trees falling and things like that. And construction or reconstruction for emergency facilities that need to be replaced. If a hospital gets smacked by a tornado, you got to be able to get in there and at least, utilize whatever's left of it, right? Facilitate field distribution of supply and logistics. Then there'll be two strategic food reserve specialists, and these people will focus on the critical needs of the food reserves for the whole team, the dependents, and the community in general, and they'll determine how, whatever resources are available in the community, i.e. in stores and so forth, will be redistributed for the benefit of the community. And then 4 to 6 people who will act as scouts. Now, these scouts will train extensively or will be trained extensively in tracking, land navigation, search and rescue, recon and observation, precision rifle shooting, wilderness survival, and bush skills. They'll also be trained in camouflage and small arms tactics and small unit tactics, patrolling, guard duty, and that kind of thing. And they'll serve as a teaching cadre to cross-train all the other team members in the basics of these skills. They'll then train sub-scouts or sub-teams who will have these scouts. And each sub-team will have 2 tracking experts, 2 precision shooting experts, 2 close combat and small unit and small arms tactic experts. Get it? So this will be the operational side of the teams and the sub-teams. Now, their intent is to have each field team of 12 to 14 people to elect their team leader and an assistant team leader themselves from within their own ranks. This is a well-orchestrated and organized plan, folks, and I really want you to participate in this. I don't care where you live. I don't care whether you're in a city. I don't care whether you're in a town. I don't care whether you're out in the middle of the boondocks and in rural community. Somewhere, somehow, there's a local community area where you hub to, where you go to your grocery store and things like that. Work with your community leaders. Somebody take a lead role here. You've got to be a leader, right? And so the goal is for everybody to act as a leader in their own area and get together with other leaders, sit down with your county commissioners as an example, and have a discussion. How can we do this? Who is going to participate? Who's going to be the lead? And where are we going to work this? And create these organizational teams. Use this as a roadmap. They've got a whole plan in here. So it's not like you have to start from scratch. Now, you do want to obviously find those people who have military training and experience and or civilian engineering and training and experience, electrical engineering, those things that are critical to reestablish your community in the event of massive power failure or grid collapse or water. You got to have somebody who knows how to go back in and, who knows how to turn on massive plumbing systems, right? So that you can get city water flowing again, or, you can get water into a sewage treatment plant so you can get, literally toilets to flush. I mean, I hate to be crude, but that's the truth. You also want people who understand how the telecommunications systems in your community work. These people should all be brought in and integrated as part of the teams because they have special skills and knowledge locally that wouldn't apply maybe 10 or 12 or 50 counties over. Right? They know how the infrastructure is set up in your communities. So those are the people that you should be incorporating into. Now, you're going to have to pick and choose who you want because not everybody's going to want to play. But it's up to these teams to be creative and conscious about what they're doing and figure out the right way to approach this. You have to support a logistics supply group. And so What you want to do is sit down with your county commissioners and say, look, what do we have on hand as emergency supplies for the county? And I don't care whether your county is a city or it's a county out in the middle of bent elbow nowhere, you still, your county should have some emergency services planning and done already. So find out what that is and work with them to make sure that, it will be done properly for the benefit of the community. Now, they are going to offer support and training for those people who, need it and those people that are willing to take on the leadership role. They also have chapters set up for peace officer, liaison, and sheriff and posse teams. These are the people who are going to go in and educate your local constitutional sheriff, if you have one. And if you don't, educate him on why and how and under what circumstances he can and should be constitutional. He's got to understand the Constitution and his duty to defend the community and the city around him, right? That's his job. He's not there to follow orders from somebody on high. He's not there to follow orders that come out of your state capital or out of the federal Washington, D.C. government. He is there because the sheriff is the most important and highest law enforcement officer in the county. He is there to do the right duty for the citizen and the community. So they'll have people who will help you try to educate your local community and law enforcement. Military and National Guard liaison to work with your National Guard and or your local military, if there's a military installation in your area, to communicate and build the relationships with those people. Because, let's be candid, the more integrated your community is to Oathkeepers within the military ranks and the National Guard ranks and what have you, and the civil, if you're in a city, a lot of times there's a civil guard, right? So the more integrated you are with who those Oathkeepers are, and preferably higher up the ranking ladder, the better off your local area is going to be, because you'll be able to already integrate and coordinate your activities right away. You don't have to start going through the whole process of, well, who do we talk to and where is he and how do we get him and this way you've already got an agreement in place that says, hey, in the event of a national or a localized disaster or some kind of a government failing, this is what we're going to do. And you've got a plan in place already, okay? Neighborhood watch teams. And these groups are designed to work together in your local communities to make sure that things like looting don't happen. And that every time we see a natural disaster where there's a massive flood or a tornado or a storm of some sort, what happens? Man, them looters come in and they start stealing, everything from out of your gun safe to your family jewels, right? Your houses get abandoned, and the next thing you know, they're in there and they're stealing everything but the kitchen sink. Local government teams to work with your local town and city councils, your county government, your judges, your county attorneys, and to observe each town and county government meeting. The idea of this is so that this team will draft and introduce militia bills, posse bills, nullification bills, and other stuff directly at the local and the city and the county level. And it will help them liaise with the city and the existing government infrastructure in the event of an emergency. They're also forming intelligence teams to gather, analyze, and disseminate intelligence on who's doing what, where, when, and why, and how. And so here's the idea. Everybody should be, look, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go through this. This whole thing is pages and pages and pages. I want you to go read it for yourself. Go to oathkeepers.org. All right. I'll put a link up at the bottom of this YouTube video in the comments section. So if you're watching this, you don't have to go hunting around for it. It's right there, right below my comments. And I want you to go to Oathkeepers, and I want you to print this thing out. And then I want you to have a community meeting with other people who are like-minded like you and say, who else do we need to bring into the fold as an initial committee to take a look at this, and then contact Oathkeepers and set this up so that you are starting to implement this in your local towns, cities, counties, communities, and what have you. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the idea of civic leadership, civic role. It's it's the answer to that question, well, I'm only one person. What can I do? There you go. You don't have to get involved in politics even. Just go out there and be a leader, for crimini's sake. But get off your couch, put down the bag of stinking potato chips you've been slobbering on for the last 6 months, and decide to take some action. Do something. Be active. What's our motto here? Educate, inform, motivate, and activate. This is the activate part. Get yourself educated. Get yourself informed. Inform and educate those in your circle of influence. Get motivated and take action. This is a perfect example, and it's a perfect opportunity for you to begin that process right here. All right, we've got to take a break. This is an important program, and I really, really, really want you to take advantage of this because, and if you want my help in trying to organize some of it, you can. I know a lot of the guys at Oathkeepers, and I'll certainly work to assist where I can, but you can contact them directly. You don't need to do that through me. If you'd like to comment to me about this project, or you'd like to participate in it, or you think I can help, or you have some information you want to share with me about how you've done your local, if you've done this already, please send me your plan because I'd love to see it. You can send it to me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. mike@americasvoicenow.org. And please help me to spread the word on this. If you're watching this video, or you're listening to it, or you've streamed it, or whatever, share this with other people in your circle of influence. We want to try to get this to go viral and spread nationwide so that it's not just out in those rural areas, but it's in everything from San Francisco to Miami and every little town and podunk city and village and community in between. It works for rural, it works for suburban, and it works for urban. That's the game plan, folks. Okay? This is a way that we can prepare ourselves as a nation so we are not beholden to the federal government when the poop hits the fan. We're not beholden on state governments to come out and feed us and turn our water on and all of those types of things. Get electricity and power back up. It's our responsibility. This is our country. Stop relying on somebody else to do everything for you. Okay? All right. That's enough of that pitch. But look, it's important. So please, let's participate. Every one of us. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Mike Evans. I'm your host. You can find us at americasvoicenow.org. You can email me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. You can find our website, our Facebook page at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. And you can find this and every other program that we do up on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. Please make sure that you're working with us and participating with us. This is the action plan, folks. Oathkeepers is operational with civilian preservation teams, and we want you to play an active and functional role. Okay? All right, we're going to take a break. When we return, if you're watching us streaming, just give it about 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and then you can click the play button again. It'll be right back on. You can stream our show, by the way, live every day at americasvoicenow.org live. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment.